shall we begin?
All right. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Hail to the king, baby.
What's in the box?
Precious.
I'm vengeance.
This is going to be quite the ride.
Everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria, and this is the Movie Pit Podcast where we talk about all the big breaking movie news items of the week. We talk about the trailers that came out this week, and we'll talk about the movies that are out in theaters and streaming for all your viewing pleasures. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. We are still on the road to 200 episodes. Yes, there are more 200 episodes of the podcast, but we are on the road to 200 movie roundup episodes. Very, very cool. We're going to continue the road this week with a kind of sort of small-ish week, at least so far, at least at the time of this recording. There's not too much stuff, but we're going to talk about them anyway because that's what I want to do, and that's what this podcast is all about. So before I get to that, obviously some housekeeping stuff. Obviously, check out all the links down below in the description/show notes area to listen to the podcast on multiple platforms. No matter where you're listening to, I appreciate it. But if you want to listen to other platforms, or you want to pass along the podcast to someone else who listens on said platform, that'd be very appreciative of that. Social medias are down there, both for the podcast and for my personal ones, and other stuff obviously down there as well. Before we get to the news this week and trailers this week, and again movies that are coming out this weekend. I want to mention that in case you missed it, I released my first reaction/review pod for in quite some time, and it was for Knock at the Cabin. Again, any constructive criticism will be welcomed for that. It was my first one in a long time. I'm still figuring out how I want to do them going forward, but Knock at the Cabin was our first one this for the year. The reviews and reaction podcast will be continuing for the rest of the year as well, so I'm trying to implement that back into the podcast. That being said, let us move on to the podcast, to this week's movie news items. There's quite a good handful of trailers that came out this week. A lot of them, I don't really have too much to say. A lot of them are really self-explanatory. They're great trailers. I just don't have too much to say about them, so I don't want to, just take up space talking about trailers where I don't really have that much to say about them. Some of them do look really good. I'll run them down anyway. We have Strays, which is a new movie with Will Ferrell, who voices a dog who becomes a stray dog after his horrible owner, unbeknownst to him that he's a horrible owner, leaves him behind, and then he meets up with other stray dogs, one of them voiced by Jamie Foxx, and decides to get revenge on his owner. It's a rated R comedy, rated R CGI live action dog movie. So there is that. That looks pretty funny, I guess. I mean, depending on how you want to. If you want to see that. Paint, the first trailer for that. This is a story of Bob Ross, who is played by Owen Wilson in the movie. If anything, that is worth the price of admission alone. There was the first trailer for Luther, The Fallen Son. This is a movie continuation of the series Luther that starred Idris Elba. Idris Elba is returning here, where he plays, once again, the character of Luther, a police detective. And in this movie, it looks like he breaks out of prison. He was in prison in the last season, so it's in the trailer, so it's going to give what happened. You don't know why he's in prison. There's that. But he breaks out of prison because there is someone, I guess from his past, or someone that he kind of knows, or something along those lines, that is causing chaos all over London, and he breaks out to try to stop him. That person is played by Andy Serkis, which is pretty cool. Cynthia Erivo is also in the movie. She plays a kind of new detective who is on Luther and the Killer's paths as well. The first trailer for Air came out this week as well. This is the movie about Nike creating the Air Jordans and everything that went into that. This is directed by Ben Affleck, who also stars in the movie. Matt Damon stars in the movie. Jason Bateman's also in there, playing someone from the company as well. I think Viola Davis is also in there. She's looks like she's playing the mother of Michael Jordan. So that's pretty cool. It looks great. It looks cool. Totally looking forward to that. So there's there. So those are the trailers. I do want to say, and I'm trying to get this podcast out early, so I don't think I'll have it attached to podcast in the trailer talk, but I will attach it, of course, to the social medias. I believe the first trailer for Fast X is dropping tomorrow on Friday when this podcast goes out. And the podcast will be going out very early in the morning, so it will not be connected whatsoever. But of course, you can go watch it online. But tickets go on sale for it, and they're dropping the trailer for it. And obviously, the Super Bowl is this weekend, so a lot of stuff will be dropping probably this weekend for the movies that are coming out. Some of them, of course, will wait until Sunday, which is when I usually watch them. I'm weird. I want to watch them when they come on for the first time. I don't want to watch them beforehand because it's part of the experience of watching, the commercials and during the Super Bowl. But there is that. I know Paramount released the Scream Super Bowl spot, and Fast X will have a spot in the Super Bowl. But of course, the trailer will be out online, so you can go watch that. But yeah, I just want to point it out there just in case anybody wants to check that out, or in case you're wondering where's the Fast X trailer. Didn't watch it because I'm putting this out early. So. All right, those are all the trailers that came out this week. Of course, all of them will be linked down below in the description/show notes area. Let us move on to the movie news items of the week. All right, so the first movie news item we're going to talk about is news I didn't expect to see at all, and I think it kind of took some people by surprise. Sony Pictures is moving forward with a sequel, not a reboot, not a remake, a sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, and they are in talks to bring back Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. to the movie. The project is said to be in early development still, with deals, of course, obviously still need to be hammered out. However, Jennifer Caitlin Robinson, who co-wrote Thor, Love and Thunder and directed Netflix's Do Revenge, which is the movie with Maya Hawke and Camila Mendes that came out last year, will direct the legacy sequel, as they're calling it. Leah McKendrick, who I didn't put down what she wrote, but she is writing the movie as well. Deadline reported that the idea for the movie blew the studio executives at Sony away, and given the recent success of Scream, Sony jumped at the chance to do the movie. I rewatched the first one. I rewatched I Know What You Did Last Summer last year for Halloween, or during Halloween season, and I was like, there was some stuff I didn't remember at all. So that was interesting. But it'll be interesting to see, where they obviously I think they'll probably ignore the third one, or the one that went straight to video. I think obviously if they're going to bring back Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., pretty sure it will be a direct sequel to Part 2, which also took a weird turn for Part 2 as well. But from what I can remember of that movie, I remember quite a bit from that movie, surprisingly. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see that they're doing that. Obviously, Scream, the nostalgia factor, but also doing very well. So obviously, Scream did it well. Let's see if I Know What You Did Last Summer does it well as well. That could have been worded better. Anyway, moving on. We're going to stick to the horror genre here. Johannes Roberts is returning to the shark movie genre with The Red Triangle. The title comes from a real place, which is very scary. I think I knew this. I didn't know I had a name. I didn't know it was called The Red Triangle. But it's a real place in Northern California, famous for its glorious beaches, but also known for its particularly large stretch of ocean with its bloody reputation, as the report worded it. With 200 miles of coastline, that is the site for almost half of all recorded great white shark attacks in the U.S., which is crazy. But the plot of the movie will follow a cruise ship that begins to sink in the Red Triangle, and obviously a feeding frenzy will start from there. Roberts is also writing the script, but obviously he's known for the shark genre for having directed, and the thing that pretty much put him on the map, 47 Meters Down. He directed that one, and he directed the sequel that came out a few years afterwards, both of which were bigger hits than I think most thought they would be. Obviously, he got a sequel, one that came out in theaters on top of that, so that was cool. His other movies have been a mixed bag. He's directed The Strangers Prey at Night, which was surprisingly good, and a lot of people enjoyed that movie, even though it kind of took a departure from the original, from the first movie rather. And then his other movie was Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which was a hot pile of garbage. No disrespect to Johannes Robinson, anybody that worked on that movie, but that movie was not good whatsoever. But he's returning to the shark genre here with the Red Triangle. Sounds pretty cool. The fact that it's a real place obviously makes it just right there, just makes it scary. So yeah, they're and I know the innate fear of people being lost in the ocean will play a factor in that as well. No word on when production will start or even an early release date, but they did say they wanted it to be a summer movie. So they'll probably start filming maybe this summer and then probably release it next summer. We'll have to wait and see on that, obviously. All right, moving on. We're going to stick to the horror. There's a lot of horror news this week. I realized that when I was putting the outline together, I was like, I There's a lot of horror movie news items this week, which is good, which is great. I love it. A24, James Wan with his Atomic Monster banner, and Sean Levy, the producer of Stranger Things and the director of Night at the Museum, and of course the director of Free Guy and The Adam Project, and soon Deadpool 3, with his 21 Laps banner, will adapt the viral sensation videos, The Backrooms. If you've seen these videos, you know what I'm talking about. They're very unnerving, especially if you watch them at night, like I did, like an idiot. No, that's just it's a whole lot of nope. The movies had gained nearly 100 million views and were created by VFX artist Kane Parsons, and not only that, Parsons, who is only 17 years old, makes me very angry but also very impressed, will direct the feature-length film off the script by Roberto Patino, who created and wrote DMZ, the HBO Max series, and he also wrote for shows like Sons of Anarchy and Westworld. How the adaptation will handle the material is unknown at the moment, but for those unaware of the video, the videos in the video series, they are set in the 90s and follows a young filmmaker who falls into another dimension and leaves him wandering through an unsettling, yellow, empty Lambrithian office space, which may or may not be the home to otherworldly beings. These videos were inspired by the imagery of creepypastas published on 4chan in 2019, and so far the series has 16 entries. One was actually uploaded this week called Backrooms Damage Control. I don't know if there was any sort of connection because I didn't watch it yet, but you can find all those videos on Kane Pixels on YouTube if you want to watch all of them. Like I mentioned, very unsettling, very they're done very, very well, extremely well. And the fact that he was able to do this on whatever budget he has, and the fact that he's 17 years old, again, very frustrating, but also very, very impressive. And the fact that he's going to direct his own, the feature length of his own work is very, very cool as well. So congratulations to him. And obviously these videos, very, very popular. Never watched them. Do recommend them. Again, just very creepy, very unsettling. Just a whole lot of nope. Especially if you're watching it at night, like I did, like a dum-dum. All right, moving on to the last movie news item that I have, at least at the time of this recording. Like I mentioned, it was kind of a slow week this week. Disney CEO Bob Iger made some sequel announcements during the company's Q1 earnings call. Those sequels will belong to Zootopia, Frozen, and Toy Story. Obviously, Toy Story and Frozen are Disney's biggest animated hits. All of them, really. Zootopia was also one. But this, of course, would be the 5th outing for Toy Story, the 3rd outing for Frozen, and the first sequel for Zootopia. Zootopia did get some shorts on Disney Plus, I think last year or 2 years ago, I believe, or maybe even before that. I don't know. Pandemics just, blurred time altogether. Iger said we'll hear more about the project soon, although he didn't say when, but literally a day after the news came out, Tim Allen, the voice of Buzz Lightyear himself, came out and said he's returning to voice Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 5. I guess also hinting that maybe Buzz meets up with Woody again, although it would be interesting to kind of see how that happens, considering how Toy Story 4 ended. Again, nothing confirmed story-wise, but we'll just have to wait and see on this. Again, no surprise here. Toy Story, like I mentioned, Toy Story, Frozen, big hits. Zootopia also a big hit, but it's finally getting its first sequel here. Obviously, the speculations running wild on why they are doing sequels and not doing more original films. Obviously, Strange World for Disney wasn't a massive hit for them. It barely made a blimp at the box office, and they dropped it on Disney Plus, where I don't know what the numbers on Disney Plus were for Strange World, but they're going back to the well. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes not. But if they can make it work, if they can make another Toy Story work, if they can make another Frozen work, if they can make it even another Zootopia work, I think out of all of these, I think people are more interested in another Zootopia movie as opposed to Toy Story or Frozen. I think Toy Story left off on a good run. I think, if they didn't do another Toy Story movie, I think it would have been okay. I think if people are kind of over Frozen because it just, when a Frozen movie comes out, just kind of takes over everywhere, no matter what, especially if you're a parent. But I think Frozen 2 also left it off in a good place. But Zootopia, I think out of all of these, I think is the one that I'm more okay with sequel-wise, because we just haven't gotten a sequel yet, and I think that's pretty cool. So that's all movie news, at least at the time of this recording. If anything big drops and I can have time to record it, I will drop it right here. If not, let us move on to the movies that are coming out in theaters this weekend and streaming for all your viewing pleasures.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, so we're going to start off with streaming like we always do. Your Place or Mine on Netflix. Two long-distance best friends change each other's lives when she decides to pursue a lifelong dream, and he volunteers to keep an eye out on her teenage son. The cast includes Reese Witherspoon, Ashton Kutcher, Rachel Bloom, Steve Zahn, Jesse Williams, and Tig Notaro. This is getting more attention because of the red carpet stuff that's been going on with Ashton Kutcher and Reese Witherspoon, where it looks like they hate each other, and Ashton had to come on an interview, was like, no, we really like each other. It's just really awkward that doing a red carpet. So, yeah, there you go. Your Place or Mine on Netflix. If you want to go check. Obviously, it's also, besides the Super Bowl, it's also Valentine's Day. It's the weekend before Valentine's Day, so there's a lot of romantic movies coming out. The next movie on Prime Video is somebody I'm still distracted. I just remembered hearing the interview by Ashton Kutcher, because I saw the interview online somewhere where he's talking about him and Reese, and even his wife, Mila Kunis, was like, you guys have to touch each other, which I thought was really funny. All right, the next movie on Prime Video, Somebody I Used to Know. On a trip to her hometown, workaholic Allie, played by Alison Brie, reminisces with her ex Sean, played by Jay Ellis, and starts to question everything about the person she's become. Things only get more confusing when she meets Cassidy, played by Kirstie Clemens, who reminds her of the person she used to be. The movie also co-stars Danny Pudi and Haley Joel Osment. Alison Brie co-wrote the movie with her husband Dave Franco, and Dave Franco also directs the movie. So it's a nice little family affair there, which is pretty cool. I've heard some decent things about it from people that have seen it already. So I know Alison Brie and Dave Franco are very, very happy with what they put out. So go support them if you're a fan of theirs. So those are the movies that are coming out streaming that I was able to find. Obviously, stuff gets past me sometimes. So I apologize if there's a streaming movie you're like, why are you talking about this? I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Moving on. In theaters, limited release of Sharper. Now, this comes out on Apple TV Plus next week, so obviously I'll remind you guys on that. But this is about a con artist who takes on Manhattan's billionaires. There's like a family aspect involved as well. This movie stars Sebastian Stan, Brianna Middleton, Justice Smith, John Lithgow, and Julianne Moore. It looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty good. I think it's also an A24 movie. I'm probably mistaken about that. I didn't put that down in my outline, but I remember like seeing the logo. I was like, this doesn't seem like the movie they would put out, but I don't know. But it still looks pretty good. But like I mentioned, it's a limited release this week. It's coming out on Apple TV Plus next week. Apple TV Plus just loves doing this. They have a good grasp of this, releasing movies in limited theaters like the week or two before they drop it on the streaming service. So if you want to watch it in theaters, there you go. But obviously, I'll remind you guys on that. The next movie getting a limited release this week and also dropping on VOD on March 3rd is Consecration. After the alleged suicide of her priest brother Grace, played by Jenna Malone, travels to the remote Scottish convent where he fell to his death. Distrusting the church's accounts, she uncovers murder, sacrilege, and a disturbing truth about herself. This movie also co-stars Danny Houston, who is part of the church. Nice little religious horror thriller there for everybody. Like I mentioned, it's coming out limited release this week, VOD on March 3rd. I'll remind you guys again, obviously, when that comes out on VOD. And the two big movies that are coming out this weekend, again, Valentine's Day weekend, the weekend before Valentine's Day, rather, Titanic is getting its 25th anniversary coming out. It's coming out on premium theaters. It's I think it's like a remastered version. I think some theaters will also have it in 3D. So Titanic, Jack and Rose, the love story that just keeps on going and has so much material. And there you go. Just James Cameron's just rolling in money. He's literally Scrooge McDucking it every night, probably just jumping into a vault of all his money that he has. And then the other movie is Magic Mike's Last Dance. This is, of course, the third Magic Mike movie. Steven Soderbergh returns to direct. Channing Tatum also returns to star, and Salma Hayek is co-starring in the movie. I've never seen any of the Magic Mike movies. Just never seen them. And it's not because it's a male stripper movie. It's like, no, I've never watched them. Like there are movies in all the direct. I love Steven Soderbergh. Love his movies. Love his movies. It's just, there's always blind spots to your directors and actors, and Magic Mike just happens to be those movies. I have nothing against what they're about or anything like that. I know that they're going to be cheesy or somewhat cringeworthy, but I just haven't watched any of them, and that's not a knock on anybody who stars in those movies or watched those movies. I just never got around to watching them. So Magic Mike's Last Dance is the third movie. This is supposedly, of course, obviously the last movie in there. Obviously, Channing Tatum wants to move on to other things and has moved on to other things as well. He has his own production company. I think he's actually one of the producers on the movie. I didn't write that down, but I'm assuming he probably is. But yeah, there you go. So those are your movies coming out this weekend for your Valentine's Day. You got that special someone. You got some good movies to choose from. Well, I mean, probably not. You probably don't want to take your date to go watch Concentration, because that would probably just scare the crap out of both of you. But Titanic, the 25th anniversary of Titanic, Magic Mike's Last Dance, limited releases, Consecration, again, coming out on VOD on March 3rd, Sharper, limited release coming out on Apple TV next week, and then on streaming, Somebody I Used to Know on Prime Video, and Your Place or Mine on Netflix. That is it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I think it might be a short and sweet podcast this week, just, with all the lack of news and no real trailer spotlight, and I apologize for that, but that's just how it goes sometimes, guys. That's what the podcast is. I'm at the mercy of the movie news gods out in the world. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. Be sure to check out all the links down below in the description / show notes area. It is for the social media accounts, both for the podcast and personal. It is where you can listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Anchor. We're on Good Pods, which is pretty cool now. And I know I feel like I'm missing one. Spotify? Stitcher? Did I say Spotify? Stitcher? I don't remember. YouTube. That was the other one, I think. I don't know. I lost track of what I was saying. But yeah, go check out the podcast in all those locations. Like, subscribe, comment, review, rate and review. Those are always very much appreciated. Helps the podcast out in the long run as well. So thank you guys. Be sure to be good people. Be sure to stay safe out there. And be good people. Of course, as always, be good people. It's not hard. It's not hard. It is not hard. Let's be a good person. And yeah, and that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!